everyone, and welcome to All Things Watched. In this video, we are going to talk about the brand new Netflix original series, which is titled Three-Body Problem. And honestly, I really enjoyed this series, and I'll just say that right off the top. This was a really crazy science fiction type thriller slash almost drama at times, and very suspenseful. They did a really good job at creating this problem or this conflict with the human race versus this whole other thing. And I don't really want to fully spoil it for you. I don't really want to tell you what the conflict is fully, but what I will say is that humanity is, on the verge of potentially going extinct because of this threat which looms over humanity. But the threat doesn't really pose a threat for today. The threat doesn't really pose a threat for another few hundred years. So I just thought that was such a cool concept. Without going into too much spoilery detail, I probably will do a podcast and dedicate it fully to Three-Body Problem, where we will go into details and spoiler talks and all that good stuff. But for here, I'm going to keep it minimal. I might talk about some things, but I'll keep it minimal. But in terms of the casting here was great. Liam Cunningham, Yovan Adepo, I believe is how you pronounce his name, Isa Gonzalez, I believe is how you pronounce her name, Jess Hong, Mario Kelly, Benedict Wong, just so many great actors that were involved with this project and with this series. And honestly, all of the performance in this series, in my opinion, was spot on. The chemistry with different characters on screen was spot on. I thought the directing was really good. The writing was pretty good as well. There were a couple of times when I felt like the editing was a little bit silly, or not so much that the editing was bad, but more so that I felt like sometimes there were certain scenes that were cut together that maybe they could have been done a little bit better. But for the most part, I really enjoyed this series, and I really liked it. So the first I think it's the first four episodes of the series, you don't really know a whole lot of what's going on. You just know there's a lot of really weird stuff going on. Like literally in the very first episode, in the pilot, you'll notice that there's a bunch of scientists who are killed. You don't really know why or how. You just know that a bunch of scientists have died, some of the smartest scientists in the world at that point in time. And they all seem to be dying for some reason. You also learn that you're following one of the scientists, and she she's doing everything that she can, with her career, her trade in the science academia. And what you see is that she ends up seeing a timer, and this timer appears right in front of her. Now, at this point in time, we have no idea why or what's going on. We just know that this scientist in particular, the one that we're following, is seeing a timer. So right from the very get-go, they introduce us to this world that's very strange, very mysterious, very science fiction-y, but also very compelling. They do it in a really compelling way. I always felt myself wanting to see more. Where is it going to go to next? Why is this happening, or why is that happening? And the story also takes place a lot of back in time as well. I think the first opening sequence actually begins like in '66, I thought it said, over in China. And so that was really cool, seeing certain scientists over there and how it connects to the present day and how they can prepare for the future. So really, you could sort of say it's like three different time periods. One we haven't seen yet. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. We haven't seen it yet. But the present day, they're trying to prepare for the future, but a lot of what's going to happen in the future is a consequence from what happened in the past. So it's really cool. Now, that's not why they call it Three-Body Problem, but that is sort of three problems in itself, three different time periods which are all connected, which will eventually sort of, I guess, in season 2. I don't really know where they're going to go in season 2. Like, will they continue in present day, or will we start getting like huge flash forwards? Will we meet this threat in a few hundred years? Will we actually see the threat? So I would assume there'll be some form of battle or something like that. I don't really know how it's going to play out. I don't know if this is based on a book or a screenplay, or if it's just a bunch of great writers that Netflix hired to create this show. I don't know what the source material is. Is it brand new just for Netflix, or is this an adaptation of something? I'm not really 100% sure, but I really, really I'm very curious to see where season 2 will go. If they have confirmed a season 2, it ends in a way where there has to be a season 2, not in the sense that season 1 don't have a conclusion. Season 1 does conclude in a, it does wrap up nicely, but it still leaves you wanting more and wondering what's going to happen next. Now, by the time you get, so the first 4 episodes really sort of sets up all that. You see a lot from the past. You try to figure out what's going on in present day, and then once you get past once you get to episode 5, I would consider episode 5 like the mid-season finale, even though there's 8 episodes. Technically, I would say that episode 5 is definitely more so the mid-season finale, even though it's not really halfway. You know, once you're done episode 5, there's only 3 episodes left. But you get what I'm saying. I feel like episode 5 is where they sort of stepped up the series and really made that big oomph push forward for the finale of the whole series, for the final 3 episodes. And the special effects in episode 5 were phenomenal. This threat, even though it's not actually here in present day, is always looming. And they did a really good job at making you sometimes feel uncomfortable living in this world, knowing that there's a threat coming that you can't see or touch or really do much of anything with right now. You're just sort of at their mercy. And so the whole series really is about that, and them trying to figure out, well, how can we stop something that we can't see or really communicate to, but also this threat is sort of looming over them at all times, because the threat itself can sort of see what's going on. It almost has like a Big Brother kind of vibe. Everybody's watching, everybody's listening, that sort of speak. So the threat does have eyes and ears everywhere in the world. They can pretty well see everything, and they've seen it appears as though they actually have a lot of control over our technology and stuff like that. Technology is huge in this series, and that's all I'll say about that, because I don't want to spoil it for you. But technology plays a big part of it, especially with the scientists, say the first half of the series. And then episode 5, like I said, is the first time that you see true power from this threat that is coming in the future, but how they are able to have this sort of power right now, even in present day. And it was just absolutely amazing. Special effects, like I said, it looked phenomenal. And then for the final 3 episodes, then now they're sort of preparing. So you go from being introduced to the world for the first 4 episodes, trying to figure out what's going on, why is there like this sort of like virtual reality world? It's almost like a Matrix type thing. Why is certain scientists seeing countdowns? In the very first episode, the sky flicks, all the stars turn off and then turn on. So they set up a whole bunch of these questions, and the first 4 episodes are really diving into this world of chaos and of this world of unknown. And then you get to episode 5, and it's sort of revealed then what the threat is. Why is all this stuff going on? And then the final 3 episodes then is sort of them trying to plan for the threat, preparing for the threat to see how can we beat this type of enemy, or is it even possible for us to beat this kind of enemy? And then when you get to the actual finale, I really like the finale. The finale was called Wall Facers, and I'm not going to explain why. It does explain in that episode why it's called Wall Facers. Wall Facers is, I won't tell you what they are, but I'll say that it is explained in the episode what they are and why they were created. But the idea of how they were created and seeing that dynamic play, I would assume, in season 2 is going to be very interesting, because the whole concept of the Wall Facers, what they are meant to do, but more importantly, how they're supposed to do it, I thought was very creative and a very intriguing idea to think that these Wall Facers are going to have to do something while also sort of having to do it without this over-looming threat, without eyes and ears, without Big Brother knowing. And the whole concept of the Wall Facers I thought was phenomenal. I thought it was such a cool way to have humanity sort of have to be prepared for this threat, and how they choose or came up with the idea of Wall Facer, or what that is, or maybe who is involved with it, and all that kind of stuff. And that's all I'll say about it. I thought that was so cool, the whole concept of it, and it was just such a great idea. The only thing that if I had to nitpick this series just a little tiny bit, there were a few moments where there were huge leaps and jumps in technology, which went way beyond what I was expecting in this world that it has created. Don't get me wrong, the technology is very advanced, especially with the idea of Big Brother being everywhere at all times, being able to manipulate everything in the world, all this kind of stuff. But I felt like that humanity itself, the amount of technology that we've seen, especially in the finale, or even the second last show, episode 7 and 8, I felt like I didn't really see that jump. I don't know how we went from sort of like a modern day technology to then going, like, making that kind of leap. Like, it was such a big leap forward in technology. I was a little bit baffled about that. I was kind of like, well, they could have spent a little bit more time in the science, although they do spend a lot of time in science. I feel like the first half of the series focused on science more than the second half, and I would have liked to see a little bit more of it in the second half. But overall, I really liked Three-Body Problem. If I had to put a number on it, which I don't always like to do, I would honestly give this one like a 75 75, maybe even 80%, definitely 75%. I just wish they had dove a little bit more into the science aspect in the last couple episodes. I was able to feel a lot of inspirations from other projects with this one. I was able, like, sometimes it really felt like the TV show V. I don't know if you've ever seen V. It felt like that. Sometimes it kind of felt like the Matrix franchise. There was a lot of Matrix vibes flowing through it and whatnot, and that kind of stuff. And it also sometimes really felt almost like a, I don't know how to describe it. I don't know. I think they were, for me, they were the two biggest sort of the two biggest inspirations that I could see, the Matrix and also V. But sometimes it kind of felt like Under the Dome, just in the sense that Big Brother is always watching. So it's not that they were actually trapped under a dome, but it kind of felt like they were trapped in the sense that there's no way of escaping this threat, or no way, no matter where you are in the world. It's almost like the whole world is surrounded by a threat. And I just really liked that idea. And it really had, I don't know, there's just a lot about it that I've really enjoyed. And I would highly recommend you watch the series if you have Netflix, and even if you didn't have Netflix, maybe it's worth your while to sign up to Netflix just for this one series. I could see this series drawing in subscribers, drawing in viewers. I do think that this series was that good, and plus a great cast. Benedict Wong, man, what a phenomenal actor. He was, to me, he was one of the shining parts of this series. He really stood out to me, and overall I love the writing, editing, directing, and all that kind of stuff. I just felt like there was one or two episodes where the pacing was a little bit weird, but overall I still loved it as a whole. So with that being said, folks, that's my review of Three Body Problem. I will do an open spoiler talk on this on the podcast and all that good stuff, and that's pretty well all I got. So I hope you enjoyed my review. Let me know in the comment section below if you've seen it, and if you liked it, tell me why or why not. If you like this video, click that subscribe button, and until the next one, take care.